Hey guys, welcome to the Doomsday Diesel Detailing Series. Today we're going to talk about ozone generators, and we're also going to discuss how you can modify yours to make it safer to use and more effective. So let's bring you in here so you can see what we're working on. So I've got this unit from thru, and I got this on Amazon, and I actually ended up buying two of these. They are about $90 if you get one used off of the marketplace, and about $130 to $140 if you buy one brand new. I didn't notice any difference between the quote-unquote heavily used and the brand new. They actually, honestly, both looked a little bit used perhaps, and so I think you might as well just save your money and get the used one because it's a real simple machine. You've got a power cord that plugs in the back. You've got a fan here that sucks air. There's a plate inside that has current passing through it at high voltage. It pushes that air past that plate, comes out the front. So that generates your O3. And what that does is it reacts with all organic material because O3 is very unstable, and it combines with that organic material and kind of self-destructs. And so it'll eliminate all odors, both good and bad. Obviously we're using it here to get rid of bad odors, but it's something that will also break down your internal organs, so you don't want to breathe it in. Just a brief overview of all the ozone generators that are out there. There are a lot for under $150, and then there are more commercial grade units for over $300 and $400. The biggest difference is these cheap little units really aren't designed to be serviceable. You're actually, on the commercial grade units, you'll rip this apart, pull that plate out, and there'll actually be usually like 3 or 4 plates. This one only has one, so that's one big difference. There's only one plate in there, and you're supposed to pull it apart and blow that plate off and keep it clean periodically. This one's not real user-friendly to do that. You have to pull your screws off, and they do sell replacement plates for this, which was one of the big factors when it came to me purchasing one. I had to find a unit that had a serviceable and replaceable plate, and this unit does. A lot of them don't on the cheaper end on Amazon. So I've ripped this one apart. It's not too bad to get inside. And so the other thing was, a lot of the cheaper ones have mechanical dials on the front, and people would say that if they didn't set it to more than 10 minutes, it would just get stuck and it would run indefinitely. So I thought it was wise to invest in the digital control panel so you can set your timer and it's controlled digitally, so you don't have to worry about a mechanical position switch getting stuck. So far, that decision has worked out great. The only downside to this is you can't have it turned on and then plug it in so that you can activate it without being close to it. You actually have to get up to it, turn it on, set all your settings, and then when you quit touching it, you have 5 seconds before it'll start generating ozone. So let's talk about safety for a second. The ozone, you don't necessarily have to be breathing to get it in you or on you. It just clings to all organic material. So if you set this in a car and you turn it on, even if you're holding your breath, it's still going to go up your nostrils, and then as soon as you take your next breath, you're gonna smell that ozone, and it will typically make you pretty nauseous because it's not good for you. And so I found a way around that, and that's what we're going to talk about with this modification. The other thing is, to get good ozone generation, you want to suck in clean, fresh oxygen. And if you set this inside your vehicle, you're going to be sucking in oxygen initially, spitting out ozone, and then it's going to recirculate ozone, and so that's going to dramatically decrease the efficiency of this unit. So if we can have this sitting outside the vehicle, we can draw in fresh air from outside and blow it into the vehicle, and then only ozone will be getting blown into the vehicle and only oxygen will go through the machine. So the way I've tried this out to begin with is I would set this in the vehicle, I'd turn it on, I'd hurry up and shut the door and get away from it, and when I wanted to turn it off, I would just simply turn the breaker off or pull the extension cord out to shut it off, and then I could wait. However, this modification is going to be even better. So I spent a lot of time looking for a unit that had a nice flat face on the front with the output so I could modify it, because I'm going to put a dryer vent on the front so that I can run a dryer tube into the car. Now, we have two options. We could put the outlet on the back and run the tube to the outside and leave this machine inside the vehicle, or we could put this on the front. The problem with leaving this in the vehicle is you still have to be in the vehicle to turn it on, and that's going to increase your chance of getting attacked by that O3. So we want to put this on the front and run a hose into the vehicle. The difference here with all the commercial grades versus these cheaper Amazon units is the commercial ones actually have these on the front and back already. So you can do both. You can have this sitting somewhere wherever you want and then run your 4-inch dryer vent hose into the vehicle, and then maybe outside, like if you're in a garage or something and you want to suck air in from outside instead. That's going to be the biggest difference, other than you have the 3 or 4 plates for generating the ozone on the commercial units, which is going to make them work faster and stronger. So for the projects I'm working on, this unit's worked just fine. And just a bit more about how much this unit actually works. So I've tried this in stock form, just setting it in a vehicle for 15 to 30 minutes depending on the strength of the odor. And I can tell you right now, it does work, but you have to do the heavy lifting first, which means you have to remove the source of the odor. You can't just go in, drop this in, and expect it to make a rotten banana quit stinking if you don't take the rotten banana out of the car. And so I tried this on 4 different vehicles. I tried it on one that had a mouse urine odor smell, and it completely got rid of the mouse odor, but I had to remove the seat, all the upholstery, and power wash the inside out. And then I put this in, and I did this actually a year after I'd power washed it out because the smell still persisted, and this completely eliminated. It's been 2 months now, and I still haven't had any trace of that mouse urine smell come back yet. Now on another vehicle, it was a heavy smoker's vehicle, and I didn't do any cleaning. Really, I should be extracting the carpets and doing a deep cleansing to it before putting this in there. I didn't. I just threw this in there. It eliminated the smell for about a day, and then that smell came right back. So this can work and it will work, but you have to remove the source of the odor first. Another thing to keep in mind is this obviously, again, kills organic material. So if you have mice or rodents in the vehicle, you can kill them in the vehicle, which means then you have to track down their bodies and remove them, or they will really wreak havoc on the interior odor. So make sure you're not just using this to try to kill mice, because they can definitely get into places that you'll never be able to reach. On the other hand, I found this extremely useful for getting rid of spiders and bugs. All right, so let's get into the modification here. So on the back here, you have this cover that goes over the fan with a dust screen. That's just going to protect your plate on the inside, so you want to remove this and clean that dust off periodically. On the front here, we do have a good sealing surface, but it's recessed back past this panel. We have 2 options here. One is we can take our tape measure, and we see we have just a little over 4 inches by about 5 3/4. Now, I went to Amazon and bought this 4-inch dryer vent plate because none of the hardware stores had anything like this, but this was only $6 on Amazon, so I picked one up, and it's going to do exactly what I want. Now, I could trim about 1/4 inch off each side of this, and it would fit on there, but then I still have a gap at the top and the bottom. I could easily enough just plug those gaps with a piece of tape. I have a 3D printer, so I thought, you know what, I'll just draw up this simple adapter plate and we'll put this on there. And one thing to keep in mind, this is cheaper made. There's no gasket around this surface. So what you could do is run a bead of RTV or silicone caulking to take up that gap. I may end up doing that, but I want to avoid doing that if possible, because that's going to make it more difficult to pull this half off so I can service that plate. So for now, we're just going to install this and be mindful that ozone may escape from here. The first thing we need to do is clean our surfaces. So we get a lint-free cloth here, get some alcohol, isopropyl alcohol, and we are just going to wipe this down to degrease it so that we get good adhesion. And we're going to do this with the 3D printed plate as well. And we're going to give that a good second to dry. Now while that's drying, we'll talk about our tape here. Right here I'm using Gorilla's clear tape. This is a double-sided thick tape. So this is actually going to do two jobs. It's going to make the plate adhere to the ozone generator, and it's going to seal it. Your other option could be to use some RTV or silicone sealant. My intention with using this clear adhesive tape is it's very strong when applied correctly, but it's also removable. So if you have any warranty issues with this, because this has a great warranty, you can always just peel this off and it won't be damaged. You can get your warranty repair out of it or replacement. If you go putting screws in this thing into the plate on the front, which I would love to do because that would be the quickest and the easiest, obviously you're going to deface it, and that's going to void your warranty. So I'll go ahead and throw links to all this stuff down in the description, so if you want to pick it up the easy way and not have to shop around like I did for so long, you can. Actually, the hardest part for me to find was the foam to seal up the gap in the vehicle when we plug our hose in. And although I've seen this idea on other YouTube channels, none of them would ever tell me where they got the foam from. So I'm hoping that saves you guys quite a bit of time and hassle, not having to track this foam down. All right, so once you get your tape all on there, you peel the backing off. And now you only get one shot to do this, so make sure you make it count. Gotta line this up, drop it on there, and keep firm pressure for about 30 seconds. And keep in mind, they mount these plates to this front plate with screws on the sides, but not in the middle. So as you push down, it'll actually bend under your hand, so you don't have to press too hard. Well, if you did a proper degreasing with alcohol, that's going to make all the difference for getting that tape to adhere. And again, I'd like to use screws to just screw it to the front and put some RTV under it, because that would be a nice airtight seal, but I'm going to wait until the warranty expires on this. I believe it has a 2-year warranty. Okay, so that is on and that is done. That's what it looks like. Now we're going to do the same thing. We're going to put tape around this surface, and this surface is a little bigger, so it'll be a little easier. And then we'll stick our top plate on. And I did put 4 screw holes in for our plate to screw on. So we'll have a little bit extra clamping force on this layer. This layer, you could use RTV if you wanted to. First we'll degrease this. Now I don't actually know that this is going to work. This is actually just something that sounded like a good idea in my head, so I went with it. So you're gonna learn, I'm gonna learn right here alongside you guys if this works or not. The chances for error that I see here are not enough fan volume or power from our fan to be able to push it all the way up through that dryer tube. And there's also just the chance that this unit isn't airtight enough to create pressure to send our air or our ozone through the tube. It'll just be blowing it potentially out the sides of the ozone generator. And if that's the case, then our backup is I can always install this on the back side, because at least then it'll for sure be getting some fresher oxygen intake. You got to keep in mind that wherever your tape corners or ends come together, where your seams are, that's going to be a potential area for your air to escape. So you got to keep that tape butted up tight to each other. And you're going to want to have a nice sharp new utility blade, because this stuff does not cut very well. And now we will carefully align our screw holes and mount our outlet. Same thing here, you want to firmly press for about 30 seconds. One thing to help here, if I can do, keep one hand keeping pressure on it. Run my screw with my other hand. Definitely don't want to get these screws too tight with this 3D printed plastic, because it'll just crack it right out. I only did a 10% infill on this first part. I always get a screwdriver to snug those up a little better, but now that's got constant pressure, and now we have a professional looking outlet on our ozone generator. So the next step is to now feed this air full of ozone into our vehicle. And to do that, I went to the hardware store and I got a plastic flexible vinyl 4-inch dryer air duct. So this is what you would run from the back of your dryer to your dryer vent to go outside. This was only about 10 or 15 bucks at the hardware store for a nice 20 feet of tube. Now 20 feet is probably going to be more than I need. It's also probably going to be more than this will actually push air through. So we'll probably have to cut this down. It'd be ideal if I could set this up on a stool or a chair outside the vehicle, and that way the intake is off the ground so it's not pulling dirt off the ground, and then just run this through the driver window or one of the windows. Now to seal the tube in the window, I went and finally found this foam at Hobby Lobby. Now I looked at the hardware store, at Menards, at Walmart, I looked on Amazon. I was trying to find like a square roll of it. This is 3 inches by 22 by 22. So I'm just going to cut strips. So aside from the tubing, I also got this cheap hose clamp at the hardware store for $1. So basically you just open this up. There's a piece of wire that spirals around in here. We're gonna put our hose clamp on there, put this over our outlet here. We'll put a couple extra rings on there. We'll tighten this down. And that is secured. So now if you ever need to take this off and you just want to run this in a room like your bathroom, all you got to do is take that hose clamp off and this will all separate real easy. Okay, so our last step is to open this up and cut it to fit a standard window. So I'm going to go measure our window. So you might find you have a standard window like this and all you have to seal is this top portion. You might also find a window like this where you have to seal the front and the top. So this is what we'll measure for here. We've got about 18 inches on the top and about 16 inches on the front. And since our foam's 22 inches long, that leaves us with plenty of slack if we just cut a full 22-inch strip. Now the only thing we have to really consider when we're cutting our foam is the size of our dryer vent tube, and it's about 4 1/4 inches. And since we want our window to compress our foam, we have to leave ourselves enough room so the window can squeeze down on the foam without crushing our tube, which is 4 1/4. Now if you guys find foam anywhere cheaper, a better source like a square roll, please let me know. Drop a comment below and I'll definitely let everyone else know where they can find it. It's something that's pretty odd. This is sold as being replacement foam for a seat cushion. Okay, so since we're 22 inches by 22 inches, I'm just going to divide this in 3. So I'm going to cut it at 7 inches because most windows are only going to use 2 pieces of this foam. This is pretty dense foam. Okay, so not the cleanest way to cut foam. I'm sure there's a better method, but you get something like this. Now we're just going to set it, the window, in the middle of the foam and roll it up until it squeezes. Then we'll come in with our hose here, set that inside, and fit our foam around it. Then if you really want to, you can take some painter's tape and mask off any openings that are left. All right, so now we're going to try this thing out. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do here is prep the vehicle. And so some things you might not think of. Everything that can hold a smell in it, you want to leave exposed. So you want your sun visors to be down. If you have little slide out parts that come out of that, you want to have those out too. You want to pull your seat belts out. Just put a little pin or a clip so it can't retract. Or in this case, you can just string it through the steering wheel and come back and buckle it. You want your glove box to be open. You want all your vents to be open. You want to turn it to cold air, turn the AC on, and turn recirculate mode on, and turn the fan on high. And I like to turn on either the windshield or the forward vents on. That way the air that's getting recirculated gets sucked up through the bottom. If you have the floor vents blowing air out, then you're actually kind of blowing air away from the return vents. And not all vehicles have the forward facing vents, so I just use the windshield or the face vents. Center console, you want that to be open. And anything else in the vehicle, you know, if you have storage compartments, you want that to be open. You want that ozone to be able to get inside those areas. So we're gonna pretend that we have the engine running and the fans are going. Get our foam kind of figured out here. So I've gone ahead and I cut this all down. Now we have plenty left for backup, for spare, and I just wanted to use the minimum amount required to be able to get this into the truck. And this is a short truck, so I left more for taller vehicles. But you want to have as straight of a run as possible from the ozone generator into the window. And this stuff actually smells pretty strongly. And I'm worried that over time, the ozone generator will break this material down itself. And they say with an ozone generator, as it destroys organic materials, it's really hard on a lot of interior components in the vehicles. So you only want to use it when absolutely necessary. You don't want to use it like every week or every month or, you know, even every year. You want to only use this when there's odors that you just cannot get out through normal cleaning. And so we will take this and we'll set it up so we basically have a straight shot in here. So we've got this more or less sealed up. It doesn't have to be airtight. If your vehicle is airtight and you were driving your vehicle, you'd die because you'd breathe all the oxygen out of the vehicle. So we're not worried about getting this thing pressurized, sealed. You know, it's gonna blow it in, it's gonna spin it around, and we're gonna suck clean, fresh oxygen in so that we have the most efficiency going in. So we're gonna turn this thing on and see how it works. Turn our fan power all the way up, turn our ozone all the way up. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now it's running. All right, guys, so I'm super impressed with how this turned out. It ended up working really well. I was afraid that our air was going to leak throughout the sides and that tube was going to be too much restriction. It wasn't going to push the air through it, but it's doing a phenomenal job. It's going really strongly through the tube into the cab. And so one other thing you want to know is you want to have that ozone come in as high as possible so that it settles down from the top down, because it's not going to naturally go up, it's going to come down. So by putting that tube going in the window at the top, that's perfect. For people that set them on their center consoles, you know, they're not getting that upper half really necessarily filled unless the air vents have ozone left in them and they're blowing it up. So having that coming in, it's shooting across the whole cab. That should work really, really well. And so we would typically run this for about 15 minutes in kind of a standard bad odor vehicle. For something with like mouse urine, you're gonna run it for 30 minutes at least, and you might have to do multiple treatments even, but you don't wanna run it for more than 30 minutes. Do a 30-minute max session. Then I like to leave the vehicle sit and let that ozone actually do the work once it's been generated. And then we'll go back in, we'll roll down the windows. Again, when you go to open the doors and roll the windows down, you can't be breathing that stuff in. You got to keep your nose covered. And so, you know, obviously also don't forget to shut the vehicle off if you have the vents and the air conditioner running. And you really only need to leave it running with the air conditioner for 10 to 15 minutes. Leaving it running for 30 minutes would be really overkill, because all you're really trying to do by leaving those vents open is getting the ozone inside the vents, because that a lot of times is where the odors live. And you obviously can't get into the vents to clean them out with a brush and all that. So you don't have to leave the vehicle running with the AC on the entire time you're generating the ozone. And so just some last notes. Again, this stuff's extremely dangerous. Don't run it by anyone or any pets, any animals, anything living that you want to stay alive. Keep it far away from this ozone, because it will kill all living things. And even when you're airing it out, keep everything away from it until it's had plenty of time to air out and that ozone can break down. So I hope this helps you guys a lot. It's made me really, really excited for all future projects. I don't know how many projects I've passed up because it had a mouse odor, and I'm like, okay, I'm never gonna get rid of that disgusting smell, and I can't see myself being comfortable in this vehicle when I know that mice were crawling all around where I'm going to be sitting for hours. So, you know, I scrapped them or I sold them, I got rid of them. But now that I've done one and I got rid of the mouse odor 100%, it just blows my mind, and it opens up so many new possibilities for things that I can build as far as old barn finds goes, because other people aren't going to know about this. So they're going to pass those up, and I'm going to get those projects even cheaper. And it's really not that much work once you go through this once and find out. Basically, you do a little scrubbing, throw this thing in there for a half hour and you're done. And it's like a whole brand new vehicle. Man, it's pretty sweet. So I hope you got something good out of this video. Hope you learned a lot. Hope you can go try it. And I hope you have great success with it. If you like this video, you like the cleaning stuff, go ahead and subscribe, because I'm going to be coming out with a lot more to help show you guys everything that I've learned over the past several years to help make you guys successful, so you can enjoy your projects and get the most out of them and do them right the first time instead of doing them 5 times over like I do. So thanks again. We'll see you in our next one.